Grace was only 17 when her whole world changed. She lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Lagos with her father and 2 little sisters, Linda and Naomi. Their mother had died after a short illness, and from that day, the house became quiet like a graveyard. Plates stayed longer in the sink. Curtains were always half closed. Their father moved around like a shadow. 6 months later he remarried. The woman's name was Madame Ronk. She walked into the house with loud perfume and louder opinions. She did not like the silence. She did not like the girls. She did not like the way her husband looked at his daughters with sad eyes. One evening, Grace heard them arguing in the sitting room. "I cannot live with your children," Madame Ronk said. "Send them away. Let your family take care of them. I need my own peace." "Ronk, they are my daughters," their father whispered, voice shaking. "And I am your wife," she snapped. "Choose." That night, Grace watched her father avoid her eyes. The next week, he told them to pack their bags. He said it was for their own good, that they would stay with his sister Auntie Stella for a short time. The journey to Auntie Stella's place in Surulere was quiet. Linda held Grace's left hand. Naomi held her right. They believed their father. They trusted him. But from the first day in Auntie Stella's house, they knew the truth. "This is not a charity home," Auntie Stella said, eyes cold. "If you will stay here, you will work. You will earn your food." From morning till night, they scrubbed floors, washed clothes, fetched water, and cooked for Auntie Stella's husband and endless visitors. Her own daughters went to private school, wore neat uniforms, and came back with stories of class parties and school buses. Grace, Linda, and Naomi hawked vegetables under the hot Lagos sun. At night, the 3 sisters slept on a thin mat near the kitchen door. Some nights, rats ran across the tiles. Some nights, smoke from the kitchen made their eyes burn. Many nights, Linda and Naomi cried silently. Grace pulled them close. "I am here," she whispered. "As long as I am alive, nobody will scatter us." One afternoon, Auntie Stella claimed money was missing. "You stole it," she shouted. "Useless children. You came here to eat my food and steal my money." They tried to explain. They cried. They swore they did not touch her money. But Auntie Stella did not want the truth. She wanted someone to punish. She called some street boys from the junction. "Teach this one a lesson," she said, pointing at Grace. The boys beat Grace in front of the house. Her back, her arms, her legs. Pain landed everywhere. Linda screamed. Naomi begged. Auntie Stella stood at the balcony, watching like it was a movie. That night, when the house was quiet, Grace lay on the mat, body swollen, lips bleeding. Linda and Naomi cried beside her. She used her remaining strength to pull them into her arms. "Listen to me," she whispered, voice weak. "One day we will leave this place. I don't know how. I don't know when. But we will leave. And as long as I am breathing, no one will touch you like this again." And in that dark kitchen, with smoke in the air and pain in her bones, Grace made a promise that would shape her whole life. The years passed like slow traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Grace worked like 10 people. She woke before everyone, swept the compound, boiled water, prepared food, and then took a tray to the street to hawk vegetables. She saved every small naira she could hide. Sometimes she skipped lunch. Sometimes she told Auntie Stella that customers had refused to pay full price, just so she could keep a little. Little by little, her savings grew. By the time she was in her early 20s, she had saved enough to rent a tiny room in a rough part of Lagos. One evening, after Auntie Stella insulted them again and threw a spoon at Naomi, something broke inside Grace. "That's enough," she said quietly. That night, when everyone slept, she woke her sisters. "Pack your things," she whispered. "We are leaving." They tiptoed out of the house with one small bag each. No one stopped them. No one even noticed they were gone. Their new room was small, hot, and noisy. The ceiling fan made more noise than wind. But it was theirs. Nobody shouted at them. Nobody forced them to kneel and raise their hands for hours. Nobody called street boys on them. Grace found a job as a waitress in a small restaurant. The pay was not much, but it was steady. She used the money to feed her sisters and pay rent. She also enrolled Linda and Naomi in a public secondary school. "This is your chance," she told them. "Education will open doors for you. I don't want you to suffer like me." But Naomi and Linda did not see life the way she saw it. They liked nice clothes and attention. They wanted quick enjoyment, not slow sacrifice. Some days they went to school. Some days they skipped and followed boys around malls and street corners. Grace did not know. She was always at work, always tired. One afternoon, Grace got a call from Naomi's school. "Come to the sick bay now," the voice said. When Grace reached there, Naomi was lying on a bed, face pale, body shaking. The nurse avoided Grace's eyes. The doctor called her into a small office and closed the door. "Your sister tried to have an abortion," he said. "It went wrong." The words hit Grace like cold water. The doctor continued, "We managed to save her, but her womb is weak. If she tries this again, she may die. She will have to keep the pregnancy." Grace's legs felt weak. Her mind raced. This was the girl she had been suffering for. The one she had pushed to go to school. The one she always defended. Still, when Naomi woke up crying, afraid and ashamed, Grace held her hand. "I will not leave you," she said. "We will carry this together." Naomi carried the baby in her body. Grace carried the weight in her life. She started doing extra jobs. After her restaurant shift, she cleaned offices at night. On weekends, she washed clothes for neighbors for small money. Some days she went to bed without food, just to make sure Naomi had fruits, drugs, and proper meals. Meanwhile, Linda moved even further away from sense. She stayed out late, came home smelling of alcohol and strange perfume. Sometimes her eyes were red. Sometimes she laughed too loud at nothing. "Linda, please," Grace begged one night. "Don't throw your life away. Look at what Naomi is facing. You can still change." Linda's face hardened. "You're not my mother," she said sharply. "I'm tired of you controlling my life. Go and face your pregnant child." The words cut Grace like a blade. She turned away so Linda would not see the tears in her eyes. Months later, Naomi gave birth to a baby boy. He was small but strong with bright eyes. They named him Jordan. From the first day, Grace loved him like he came from her own body. She woke up at night to feed him, changed his diapers, carried him when he cried, and rocked him when he refused to sleep. Naomi recovered physically, and then slowly returned to her old life. She started going out again. First for fresh air. Then for short visits. Then for long nights that ended in early mornings. One morning, Grace woke up to quiet. Jordan was still sleeping. Naomi's side of the bed was empty. On the small plastic table, there was a folded paper. Grace opened it with shaking hands. The note said, "I'm not cut out for this motherhood thing. Since you like playing mother, keep him. You can have him. Naomi." The room spun. Grace dropped to her knees and grabbed the bed to steady herself. Tears poured from her eyes. She looked at little Jordan, sleeping peacefully, innocent, knowing nothing about the mother who had walked away. Grace picked him up and hugged him close. "I don't know why they keep leaving," she whispered into his soft hair. "But I will not leave you. I refuse." From that day, she tied Jordan to her back and carried him into every battle life brought. Lagos people talk. They always talk. When Grace started tying Jordan to her back and taking him to work, different mouths gave different stories. Some customers at the restaurant pitied her and slipped extra money into her hand. "Take this, my sister. You are strong." Others looked at her with judgment. "Girls of nowadays," they hissed. "They will open their legs, get pregnant, then start forming victim. Who knows the father? Maybe one useless boy." Grace heard it all, but she kept her head down. Jordan was innocent. He did not beg to be born. She refused to let their words enter her heart. Jordan grew slowly. He began to smile at customers, holding Grace's apron with his small hand. He called her Mummy before he could even say his own name well. "Not Auntie?" one customer asked, surprised. Grace smiled tiredly. "I am the only mother he knows." Linda's life moved like a car with no brakes. She stopped her tailoring apprenticeship, saying the pay was too small. She started hanging out with friends who liked to take pictures in hotels and post fake soft life online. One day, she borrowed money from a neighbor, saying she wanted to invest. She put it into a Ponzi scheme that crashed after 1 month. The lender wanted her money back. When Linda could not pay, the woman called the police. Linda was dragged to the station, crying and shouting. Grace heard the news while she was serving customers. Something inside her said, "Leave her. Let life teach her." But another voice, stronger, said, "She is still your sister." That evening, Grace ran from house to house, from friend to neighbor, begging for loans. By nightfall, she had gathered enough to bail Linda out. When Linda finally stepped into the house, Grace hugged her in relief. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Linda pushed her away and rolled her eyes. "Did I ask you to bail me out?" she said. "Next time, mind your business." That night, Grace stood by the window, looking at the blurry lights of Lagos. The sky was dark. The street noise was far away. "Maybe some people are not meant to be saved," she whispered to herself. "Maybe I am wasting my tears." Life continued. Then a small light entered. At the restaurant where Grace worked, a new regular customer appeared. His name was Felix. He was always well dressed. Clean shirts, nice wristwatch, soft perfume. He spoke calmly and treated everyone with respect. He noticed Grace from the first week. He saw the way she carried Jordan with one arm and trays with the other. He saw the way she smiled at rude customers and kept her anger inside. He saw the way she hid her tiredness behind quiet eyes. One evening, when the restaurant was almost empty, he called her. "Waitress." "Sorry, what is your name?" he asked. "Grace," she replied. "That name fits you," he said. "You serve everyone with grace." He started coming more often. He would sit at the corner, watch quietly, and sometimes help distract Jordan so Grace could work. He asked about her life. At first she lied, but slowly she told him the truth, about her mother, her father, Auntie Stella, Naomi, Linda, and Jordan. Felix listened without judgment. No pity in his eyes, only respect. One Saturday he said, "You deserve one day where you are not carrying the whole world on your shoulders. Have dinner with me. Just as friends." Grace hesitated. "What about Jordan?" she asked. "I can pay for a trusted neighbor to watch him that evening," he said. "You need to breathe." For the first time in many years, Grace wore a borrowed dress and light makeup. When she looked in the mirror, she almost did not recognize herself. Felix took her to a quiet restaurant on the island. No noise, no shouting customers. Just soft music and warm lights. For a moment, Grace felt like she had stepped into another life. "You are special, Grace," Felix said, looking into her eyes. "You are not just a survivor. You are a builder. You build people around you, even when they break you." His words found a place deep in her heart. Their friendship grew. He brought small gifts for Jordan. He asked about her dreams. He encouraged her to think beyond her present struggle. Grace started to hope secretly. Maybe, just maybe, this was the man who would stay. One afternoon, Felix decided to surprise her at home. He knocked. The door opened. Linda stood there, wearing a tight dress and a mischievous smile. She looked him up and down and almost forgot to breathe. This was the man her sister had talked about with soft eyes. The one who looked at Grace like she was special. "Good afternoon," Felix said politely. "Is Grace at home?" Linda's mind moved fast. In that moment, envy rose like smoke. "She's not around," Linda said, voice sweet. "Come in and wait." He stepped inside. Before the end of that visit, Linda had planted a seed that would change everything. She told Felix that Jordan was Grace's secret child, that the father ran away, that Grace liked to tell stories to make people pity her, pretend she was a saint when she was not. She added small lies here and there like pepper in stew. Felix listened quietly. His face did not change, but something inside him moved. After that day, his calls reduced. His texts slowed down. Excuses started. Work is busy. I'm traveling. I'll call you soon. Then one day he stopped completely. Grace felt it. The silence was louder than any message. Weeks later, she saw a picture on social media. Felix and Linda. Engagement ring shining on Linda's finger. Her chest tightened. Her phone almost fell from her hand. The man who once called her special was now smiling beside the sister who never valued her. When Linda came home one evening, she dropped an envelope of money on the table. "You can take this as payment for all you did," she said carelessly. "You like suffering for people. At least now you can say it paid you." Grace looked at the money, then at her sister. For the first time, something inside her closed. She realized she had been living her entire life for people who did not know her worth. That night, when the house slept, Grace sat at the edge of the bed and made a quiet decision. She would still love. She would still be kind. But she would no longer destroy herself trying to save those who enjoyed watching her burn. Grace's life changed after Linda's betrayal, but instead of collapsing, she rose. Pain pushed her into purpose. She started a small catering hustle from her tiny kitchen, delivering food to offices and neighborhood events. Customers loved her honesty, her clean food, and her humility. Slowly, Grace's Kitchen became a name people whispered with respect. Her business expanded. She rented a bigger space, bought equipment, and finally opened a real restaurant. The signboard outside read, "Grace's Kitchen. Food with a story." Some nights, she stood beneath it with quiet tears, remembering the girl who once slept on a thin mat in Auntie Stella's kitchen. At one high-profile event, Grace met Dr. Daniel, a gentle hospital owner. He admired her strength, her kindness, and her resilience. Their friendship grew slowly, like morning light entering a dark room. For the first time in her life, a man approached her with sincerity, not deception. After months of peaceful companionship, Daniel proposed. Grace accepted with fear and joy mixed together. Their wedding was simple, beautiful, and quiet. Jordan walked her down the aisle, proud to give away the woman who raised him. Just when life seemed steady, the past returned. Linda called, whispering, "Grace, I'm dying." Grace rushed to a filthy room in a forgotten corner of Lagos. Linda lay on a thin mattress, sick, weak, and covered in rashes. The rituals Felix dragged her into had destroyed her body and mind. She saw shadows, heard voices, and felt things crawling under her skin. Between tears, she begged Grace for forgiveness and pleaded, "Please, protect Jordan. Don't let darkness touch him." Grace held her hand until Linda took her last breath. She buried her quietly. No crowd, no drama, just peace. Months later, Naomi returned. She looked polished on the outside, but inside she was broken from prison, heartbreak, and regret. She confessed everything. Jordan's father had died and left an inheritance for his son. A lawyer confirmed that the money legally belonged to Jordan, but would be managed by his guardian until he turned 21. That guardian was Grace. When Jordan learned that Naomi was his biological mother, he forgave her, but gently said, "My real mother is the one who stayed." Naomi wept, grateful for even that small place in his life. She began working at Grace's Kitchen, rebuilding herself slowly, gaining Jordan's trust piece by piece. One evening, the three of them sat at the dining table. Grace, Naomi, and Jordan, sharing rice and laughter. No shouting. No bitterness. The house felt full for the first time in many years. Jordan looked at them and said, "This is my family." And he was right. Grace had survived betrayal, poverty, abandonment, and heartbreak. Yet she finished with love, success, and a family healed by forgiveness. For the first time in her life, Grace felt light, because after everything she lost, what remained was real. Home, son, a sister restored, a husband who loved her gently, and a future finally free of pain. Her story did not end in sorrow. It ended in peace. Thank you for watching. Follow for more amazing stories.